construction costs. What does it all mean? Let's start with the simple one, VAT. When you are thinking about cost, you should always hire a VAT registered builder. This is because if they're not VAT registered, the chances are that they probably haven't built a project like yours to this level before. A builder who is VAT registered will have done many projects before to this kind of scope. Please remember though that being VAT registered means that 20% of your affordability costs will go to HMRC. And a simple illustration now follows. You have £50,000 to spend. The VAT cost that goes to HMRC is 20%, and that is 8.3k. Therefore, the build cost that you actually have to spend on this project is 41.6k. Why are ballpark figures dangerous? What's the risk? If a builder is willing to give you a ballpark figure, the question you must ask them is what they are basing this on. So what are the risks of having a ballpark figure? There are 4 areas of risk with being provided a figure at this stage. A ballpark figure does not take into account the current conditions of your home. A ballpark figure does not take into account any detailed requirements. A ballpark figure is usually based on a rough estimate of square meterage. But as you and I will know, no 2 square meters in our homes are the same. An architect will have some idea of cost, but remember, an architect's focus is at the design stage of your project. They are focused on ensuring that the drawings and structural calculations are correct and not the costs of the build. Regardless of these risks, this is the route that you would like to take. And now you have a figure set in your mind, yes, because you are human, and you will naturally be drawn to the quotes that are closest to this figure, because this is what you have now budgeted for, whether you accept it or not. When someone gives us a figure, this is what we naturally start to work with. You could be missing vital information, but why is that an issue? This is a really critical point to this vlog. The vital information that's missing could be sent to you via an invoice during the project build stage. This is something nobody wants to happen. This causes immense stress and pressure, and you have already signed a contract with the builder. At this point, you will find yourself frantically reviewing that contract line by line, only to discover that you potentially have no choice but to pay these invoices. Many clients have called us in this position and asked us what to do, and our hands are tied. We can't help with this type of scenario because, quite honestly, it could involve demolishing everything that has been done and starting again. We do not want anyone to find themselves in this position. Budget versus affordability. You now feel like you're in a bit of a chicken and egg scenario. Most builders should ask you for your affordability or budget up front. But how can you possibly share this if you don't know what it's going to cost? You need the quote, don't you? The answer is no, you don't need the quote at this stage to work out what you can comfortably afford to spend. However, some people say, I need to actually release some equity in my existing home, and the mortgage company will want to see the quotes so they know how much I want to borrow. The mortgage company will not want to see builders' quotes. What they will want to know is, how much equity do you have in your home? How much would you like to borrow? And how much can you reasonably afford to pay back? Our advice is to take the maximum that you can afford, that you are comfortable with from the equity in your home. If you don't use all of this equity, you can pay the mortgage or the mortgage company or the bank the money back. But what does the builder actually do with this information? Surely the builder will then quote to my budget. At Hart Developments, we get this challenge quite frequently, and our answer to this question is no, we do not quote to budget. We quote to scope of the project. We quote to your detailed requirements, what we have previously agreed that will be in scope and out of scope, down to a level of detail where you have everything you need to make a decision. I cover more of this in my must-have versus nice-to-have vlogs. In summary, at Heart Developments, this is what we do when we know your number. We understand the scope of your project in detail, and we understand what is out of scope and therefore excluded from your project quote in detail. We then start to work through your quote, and we build your quote the way we would build your home. We take special care and attention to detail. We make sure that where labour can work in parallel, they are working at the most efficient rate for you that works with your budget. As we start to develop this quote, we keep an eye on how it is impacting the overall cost and look at that compared to the information that you have shared, and we may stop working on this quote. The reason for this is that we don't want to waste your time. We want to make sure that we are transparent all the way through this really important stage of the construction project initiation. If we find that we are only partway through your quote, but very close to the budget you shared, we would pause, we would contact you, and we would discuss where we are and why. We could discuss potentially you changing scope, again related to identifying must-have versus nice-to-have requirements. It could be that certain parts of what you really want, you are actually quite happy to exclude for now at this point in the proceedings. You might be now feeling, but this all takes too long. What's the point? I just want to know. Remember, our focus is to ensure that you are happy with the quality of the information in front of you. You are happy with the scope of the project that we've agreed. You know how much this is going to cost, how long this is going to take, and how it's going to be managed. The time it takes for your investment is worth the wait.